Houston, we don't just have a problem, we have a complete offensive crisis that is suffocating our franchise quarterback. Why on earth are we letting a generational talent take hit after hit because of a broken, predictable system? It is absolutely time to wake up, point fingers, and demand that Nick Caley fixes this nightmare before it completely derails our entire season. Before we tear into this massive mess, do me a huge favor and smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep holding this team accountable together. I am fired up today, and I know every single one of you watching this feels the exact same frustration burning inside. I have been reading your comments, I've been feeling the anger, and the overwhelming consensus is that we need a serious heart-to-heart about this coaching staff. Since our defense was absolutely lights out and arguably the most dominant unit in football last year, all of our crosshairs are locked onto the offensive side of the ball. Specifically, the microscope is aimed directly at our offensive coordinator, Nick Caley. What in the world does he have to do to salvage this offense going into next year? Honestly, I have to ask you right out of the gate, is Nick Caley a top-tier play caller who just needs the right pieces to succeed, or is he the absolute worst offensive coordinator in the entire National Football League right now? This whole situation has been eating at me, and it was perfectly validated recently by an incredibly insightful breakdown from Benjamin Solak. He put out a video detailing C.J. Stroud's situation, and it confirmed what I have been screaming from the rooftops for what feels like an eternity. The slight regression we have seen from Stroud over the last 2 seasons. It is not his fault. Period. The blame rests entirely on a completely non-existent running game. Stroud is out there fighting for his life, and I am so relieved that Solak brought the raw analytics to back up our eye test. Yes, Stroud had a miserable outing against the Patriots, but we cannot ignore the catastrophic systemic failures happening around him. Let's look at the sheer horror of these numbers. When you analyze the expected points added per play on designed runs since C.J. Stroud entered the league, it is enough to make you sick. The Texans rank as the second worst rushing attack in the entire NFL, barely edging out the Las Vegas Raiders. Let that sink in for a second. Our franchise savior has literally never played a single snap of professional football with a competent, healthy ground game behind him. They hand the ball off, and it is just an instant failure. And what does that force? It forces the most terrifying situation in football, 3rd and long. Defensive coordinators dream about getting offenses into 3rd and long so they can just pin their ears back and unleash their pass rushers. Over the past 2 seasons, C.J. Stroud has been forced into more 3rd and long dropbacks than almost anyone else in the sport. He is sitting at a staggering 5.9 3rd and long situations per game. The only quarterback on the planet dealing with a worse hand is Caleb Williams up in Chicago with 6.15 per game. We are demanding that Stroud perform miracles, bailing this team out of massive holes snap after snap, just to keep the offense breathing. It is completely unfair. If you want more proof of how broken this is, look at the defensive alignments we face. Think back to Stroud's unbelievable rookie year where he set the league on fire. Back then, defenses actually respected us enough to play base formations. In 2023, Stroud faced those base defenses on 25.6% of his dropbacks. But last year, that number plummeted to a pathetic 14.8%, putting him in the bottom 6 of the entire league. Why? Because the rest of the NFL is laughing at our run game. Opposing coordinators are literally looking at our tape and saying, just throw extra safeties and corners on the field, sit in nickel and dime packages, and dare them to run. It makes passing infinitely harder for Stroud because the field is absolutely flooded with defensive backs. But here is where the hope comes in, and this is where Nick Caley has to earn his paycheck. The league has poked the bear, and C.J. Stroud looks more locked in and viciously motivated this offseason than I have ever seen him. We know the sickness, now let's talk about the cure. The front office sniffed around elite talent. We heard the heavy rumors about trying to land Kenneth Walker, and we knew they were kicking the tires on Breece Hall. Ultimately, they pulled the trigger on a trade for David Montgomery. Honestly, I love this move. He is still on the right side of 30, and I firmly believe he is going to be a violent, bruising force for this new-look roster. That brings us to our question of the day, and I want every single one of you to sound off in the comments right now. do you believe David Montgomery will rush for over or under 774.5 yards this season in Houston? Let me know below. Looking at his track record, he has hovered right around that exact mark over the last couple of years, hitting 716 yards in 17 games one year and bumping up to 775 during his time with Detroit. I am aggressively predicting he goes over that number because the sheer volume and workload he is about to inherit in Houston is going to be massive. The critics aren't factoring in how desperate we are to establish the run. We are so desperate because our early down efficiency has been utterly atrocious. Last year, in 2025, we ranked as the 6th worst team in the league for first down yardage, scratching out a miserable 4.8 yards per play. The only teams more incompetent on first down were the Cardinals, Raiders, Titans, Chargers, and Browns. If we want to fix third and long, we have to start ripping off 4, 5, or 6-yard chunks on first down. We need a physical, punishing identity, and David Montgomery is exactly the kind of battering ram to establish that tone. But you cannot establish a punishing run game without a nasty offensive line, and thankfully, the front office completely gutted and rebuilt the trenches this offseason. The only two familiar faces you are going to see out there are our left tackle Arianti Urzuri and our right guard Ed Ingram. Keeping Ingram was crucial because he was genuinely one of the premier run-blocking guards in the league last season. But they didn't stop there. They aggressively brought in Wyatt Teller, they drafted Keelan Rutledge to inject some serious youth, and then they made a move that I am furious at myself for not hyping up enough. We stole Braden Smith from the Indianapolis Colts in free agency, and my goodness, this is the move that is going to save C.J. Stroud's life. Braden Smith is not just an offensive lineman, he is an absolute, bone-crushing mauler in the run game. Bringing him in practically forces Nick Caley to dial up run plays on first and second down because you do not acquire a road grader like Smith just to have him pass block. If you think I am just hyping him up with fan goggles, listen to what one of the most terrifying edge rushers in the history of the NFL had to say. Max Crosby was on his podcast recently talking about his legendary battles with Braden Smith, and the respect he showed was chilling. Crosby straight up said that Smith doesn't get enough recognition, calling him a huge, mean, 6'7" monster. Crosby said going against him is like talking to a brick wall because Smith never says a single word, it is just pure, unadulterated violence. Crosby described their matchups as an absolute bloodbath where they just go to war, pounding the rock all game long. He called Braden Smith one of the absolute best tackles in the entire league. When Max Crosby is terrified of your new right tackle, you know you struck absolute gold. Imagine the sheer force on that right side with Braden Smith and Ed Ingram lined up together. They are going to bulldoze massive craters in opposing defensive lines for David Montgomery and Woody Marks to explode through. If we can finally develop a lethal 1-2 punch in the backfield, the entire dynamic of this offense flips on its head. Suddenly, defenses will be completely terrified. They will be forced to drag an eighth man down into the box to stop the bleeding, just like teams are forced to do against elite backs like Saquon Barkley. Once those safeties creep up to respect the run, the deep middle of the field is going to absolutely burst wide open for C.J. Stroud. We saw brief flashes of this potential back in 2024 when we had Joe Mixon, but the offensive line was just far too putrid to sustain it. There were endless blown assignments, undisciplined penalties, and zero physical flow. But looking at the master plan this offseason, through free agency, through the draft, and through these aggressive trades, the front office had one singular, violent objective: get significantly more physical. That starts and ends with running the football. Nick Caley has zero excuses left. He has to fix this ground game. But it goes beyond just early downs. It bleeds into the high-pressure situations where we have totally collapsed. Did you know we were a bottom 5 team last year when it came to converting 2-point conversions? We were absolutely abysmal on 3rd and short and 4th and short. Why? Because every single time the game was on the line, we put the entire weight of the franchise on Stroud's shoulders and asked him to play hero ball. We need to be able to line up on 3rd and 2, look the defense right in the eyes, and physically move them against their will. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the demoralizing power of the tush-push. We need that exact same swagger. If we stop relying on Stroud to perform magic tricks on every single snap, his stress level will drop, his mechanics will settle, and we will finally unleash the MVP caliber C.J. Stroud we witnessed during his rookie campaign. Nick Caley, the blueprint is right there in front of you. Embrace the physicality. Trust this massive new offensive line. Run the ball with bad intentions on short yardage, and keep us in third and manageable. If he can do that, this offense is going to be a completely unstoppable juggernaut. That is all the fire I have for you today. If you rode with me to the very end of this video, get in the comments right now and tell the new viewers exactly why they need to subscribe to this community. And if you haven't hit that sub button yet, what on earth are you waiting for? I am bringing you the most passionate, hard-hitting coverage all year long, and you do not want to miss a single second of it.